Buenos dias, and good morning. So, guess where I am on my way to? I was invited to a sweat lodge ceremony. Yes, I've always wanted to do one. So, right now I'm preparing because I have to be there in about 40 minutes or so. So, I'm just gonna kind of talk about what's gonna happen today because I don't know everything about what's happening. I'll sit down for a second. But I'll tell you what some of the things I have to do to prepare. First, I have to eat light. So I made myself a smoothie. While we're detoxing, they don't want you to have anything heavy because this is not just a physical detox, but it's a spiritual detox as well. So I made a smoothie out of spinach, pineapple, coconut milk, pepitas, or we call them in the States pumpkin seeds, some ginger, and I think that's it. Yeah, so I had that this morning. I'm still feeling a little hungry, so I may have some more pineapples before I go. So the other thing is you can't wear any perfume, no deodorant, no makeup, I'm gonna take my glasses off, no jewelry of any kind. So only thing I took a shower this morning, so the only thing I put on is some olive oil just to moisturize my skin after my shower. And they was very specific about what you wear. You either wear a tank top or they recommend that you wear a bathing suit. So I'm wearing my swimsuit, and they were very specific about skirting. So they asked the women to wear a white skirt. I am wearing my white skirt, and I'm also wearing my white chucks. So my favorite white chucks. Anybody that knows me knows I love my white chucks. So white in spiritual practices typically represents spiritual work, a connection to the divine, and purification. So I get all that. Why am I doing this? Because I've always been connected to it. I've always been connected to the spiritual part of my life, my spiritual path, and that's very different for everyone. I am definitely connected to the spiritual practices of my African ancestry. I am also connected to the spiritual practices of my Native American side through my mom's bloodline, which is the Halawa Saponi tribe from the North Carolina Piedmont area. And I've always wanted to embrace this. I've always wanted to do it. And so this was my opportunity. I'm here in Mexico. What better place to do it than the place where it originated, as far as I know. So this is a very deeply spiritual practice. We're going to be sweating in this lodge in cycles. It's going to be over a 4-hour period. And each cycle represents the elements in different parts of ourselves. So one part is honoring our connection to the earth, fire, air, and water. And so there, number 4 is very significant in the spiritual practice, as well as number 3 and number 7. However, today we're going to focus on things of 4, and I'll explain that more. So right now I'm going to finish preparing. I'm going to get me some pineapples to eat, and then I'm going to call my Uber. We'll go over, and then when I get back, I'm going to just share with you, once I come down from it and probably rest a bit, and come back and explain my experience. Before I continue with the next part of the video, I want to talk about doors, which you'll hear a lot about. Well, they're actually gates, and there are 4 of them. The first one represents childhood. Through ancestral drumming, we're guided all the way back to our childhood, where we visualize ourselves as children. Were we happy? Were we feeling love, rejected, or maybe unsafe? This gate helps us reconnect to our earliest memories of childhood. The second gate represents adolescence and fire. As we grow into adults, we're often taught not to offend others, not to hurt anyone, to dim our own light. This especially applies to women. So it's important to keep tending to our own fire. Our inner fire will offer light and warmth to all the dark places. The third gate represents adulthood. This gate focuses on our adult lives. For many, this is where a lot of emotions can come to the surface. And as we breathe in the cleansing herbs, we're invited to feel whatever we're feeling and allow ourselves the opportunity to release what no longer serves us. The fourth gate represents end of life. This gate symbolizes the end of our lives or death. This gate experience was the culmination of the full cycle of life that we had just journeyed on for the few hours we were in the sweat lodge or the Talmud. Now there is a fifth door, but we didn't enter, and I'll get into that later.
En ciertas tradiciones se corta en noviembre, porque diciembre es como un mes como de estar nada más quietito como para empezar a recibir como esa época de frío, ¿ves? Y enero ya se empieza con toda la cosecha y empieza como a florecer para que en marzo esté todo bonito.
Okay, y'all, I'm back from the sweat lodge and I've got so much information to share with you. It took everything within me not to just crawl on the couch and just conk out for the rest of the day because I am exhausted. And the only reason why I'm shooting this video is because I didn't want to leave out a lot of details, but I just wanted to share with you what my experience was when I went to this sweat lodge. First of all, if I have to be honest with you, I was quite anxious because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how I would feel going in or coming out of a lodge just to sweat and to be part of this spiritual practice that I won't say had no connection with, because I do have a connection with it, but I have never experienced it in this manner, actually spending hours in a sweat lodge, sweating. It's more than that. So let me just walk you through. So when I left this morning, I told you I had to be prepared. I had to dress a certain way. I couldn't wear certain things. I couldn't wear makeup or perfume, jewelry, anything like that. I had to wear a white skirt. And I mentioned that in a previous video, why it was significant to wear white. There were 5 of us in the lodge. Actually, there were 4 of us in the lodge, plus the facilitator. And she was of a Mexican national. She's a 4th generation healer. So she understands all about the sweat lodges, what it takes to actually go through one successfully. She does her prayers, her chants. And if you're not open to that type of thing, then I guess you wouldn't be interested in it. But for me, because I understand the work of healing and in theory, smoke lodge, but after today, I know more about it and what the purpose is. So when we got there, they gave us a little bit of water to drink. And actually they told us before we went there, we should hydrate at least 24 hours before we get there. Just drink a lot of water. We can eat food, but you know, the water is just building up our system so that we're not dehydrated once we go into the sweat lodge, because you are going to sweat. So before we went in, we took off our shoes. And if they had watches or anything like that, you can't take that into the sweat lodge. Now, if I had to describe this particular lodge, because there are different types of lodges that are built, this one is shaped more like an igloo, but it was very intricately designed. It was made of brick, and the foundation is made of what I was told, white and pink quartz. So that was the foundation. Before they even built it, they laid the groundwork for healing. Because if you work with crystals, particularly pink crystals or the rose quartz, then you know that that is the love stone. And I'm telling you, that is my connection to this city, because this is what San Miguel de Allende is built on. The whole city is built on rose quartz. Rose quartz signifies relationships, love with yourself, and love, acceptance, love of yourself, and healthy relationship with others. So it was just, I don't know, serendipitous that I came to this city and that this sweat lodge, the foundation of it is actually built on rose quartz. So anyway, so it has a little entrance, just like you will see in an igloo, where you have to actually crawl in. So before you go in, you can kind of honor the spirit that is welcoming you into the space. So you bow before you crawl into the little hole, and then you're seated clockwise. So once you're seated, the person that's facilitated, she comes in, and then the person that's actually bringing in the hot stones, which go into like this center, I don't know how to describe it, almost like a well, about maybe 2 feet deep. And in the well, they would stack hot coals, not hot coals, hot rocks. I mean, they're so hot that they are like flaming red. You know how coals get really red, and that's how hot the rocks were. So he put it on the first layer, and then that is considered the first door. Now, remember in the previous video, I told you that we were doing we were focusing on things that represent 4, and in this case, earth, water, fire. And earth, water, fire. Why do I always get that? Can't get the 4th one. Earth, water, fire, air. Earth, water, fire, air. Why I can never think of that 4th one. So each door represents the element. And as you move through the door, the facilitator, she guides you through these doors. And as you move through these doors, there's certain spiritual things that are taking place. Now, mind you, as you are sitting in this sweat lodge, the smoke, or not the smoke, the steam from the hot rocks, and what creates the steam is a facilitator. She takes these, a band of herbs. We call them herbs. They call it medicine. You have chamomile, eucalyptus, all type of herbs. And each time we do a walk, go through a door, not walk, but kind of go through a door spiritually, she's using other herbs. I think she used 13 herbs altogether. So he has this bucket of water. She would take, it almost look like a bouquet of herbs, and she dips it in the water and she splashes it on the hot rocks, and that's what creates the steam. The vapors are unbelievable. You've never had a steam sauna or a steam bath until you had one of these, because I'm telling you, my lungs were so open by the time we got through the 4th door that I just started feeling mucus coming out of my nose, nasal passages just draining. My lungs are opening up, and I could feel this happening. So I would be lying if I told you it wasn't challenging. It was challenging because every time you are led through this spiritual door, the guy who brings the hot rocks, he piles more on top of the ones he piled on at first. So this one, he brings in maybe 5 or 6, then he brings in 6 more, and then 6 more, and then finally maybe 5 or 6 more. And so she blesses, each time he brings it in, she blesses the hot rocks. She uses some kind of resin that she puts on the rocks to bless it. And then she uses this bouquet of herbal medicine. We call them herbs. They call it medicine, which it really is. And we just take the water, dip it in the bucket, and just hit the rocks. And I mean, you can imagine by the time we got to the 4th door or the 4th level of this process, all of the steam that was in this igloo-like cave. So we're in there, I'm trying to get through it. I was challenged the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. Actually had to, ask him, can I go out and get a little water? Because I felt like I was just about to not explode, but it's just, I'm drenched at this point. My hair is drenched. My clothes are drenched. My skirt was trashed because I didn't have anything you're not supposed to bring anything except what you came with. And I just had my long white skirt, and I was using that as a rag to blow my nose, and it was a hot mess. But I felt good because I just felt this drainage come out. And so while we were in there, they gave us some things to kind of alleviate all that heat. We had these ice herb cubes. We had ice herb cubes, or ice cubes made with herbs. Some of them had cacao and sea salt. Literally ice cubes made with cacao and sea salt. Others was aloe vera. And it was amazing just to kind of, while your face is sweating and your pores are open, to use this sea salt and cacao for your body, or either the aloe vera gel ice to cool you down. But can you imagine using that ice for your face while your pores is open? I just had it all over I just put it all over my body. Wherever I've had exposed skin, I put it on there. But so by the time we got to we were actually supposed to do 5 doors, but she said that she could feel that there was some resistance in the group to not go further. And sometimes she said every group is different depending on the energy of the people that are in the collective. So our collective, we were really cool, but you just never know what people are dealing with internally. And for me, I kept feeling the anxiety as I was getting through the first, second, and third door. By the time I got to the 4th one, I kind of quieted myself and I felt less anxious. I think my body had adjusted to all the steam. And so I didn't feel as anxious as I did before. And I just went into a meditative state. I just closed my eyes and I asked my ancestors to guide me through it, help me get through the last part. And, I spoke their names in my head. I called on my mom, my dad, my 2 sets of grandparents, an aunt and uncle who are very close to me. And I was like, I'm here for a spiritual release. There are some things that, I want to work on and some things I want to move through, help me through this process. And I'm telling you, after I said that prayer in my head, I just felt like a release. And next thing I know, just all of this mucus is coming out of my nose and my eyes. And it was quite an experience. But the last door, that was really intense because, again, we had a lot of rocks piled up. There was a lot of steam, more than door 1, 2, and 3. And then she used eucalyptus. Eucalyptus to me was the best part because I'm used to using that particular herb when I want to open up my lungs and clear my sinus passages. And that was just so healing. And so by the time we finished, she did some drumming throughout the entire process. We had breaks in between, meaning we didn't really go out except for me. I did go out to use the bathroom, but we all pretty much stayed in. And that door that I mentioned that we had to crawl through in order to get in, I don't think I mentioned this. They put blankets over the door where it's totally covered and it's pitch black. So if you are the type of person that has anxiety or you feel a certain kind of way about the darkness is really a way to tap into yourself. Those thoughts that you have when you're alone with yourself, if you give your time to be alone with yourself, you're going to have a lot of crazy thoughts floating in your head. First of all, can I do this? Am I going to survive this heat? What am I doing here? But then you start to, start accepting the thoughts, accepting what happens, accepting what is. And then that's when the magic happens. Once you relax into it and just allow it and let it be, you'll start tuning into those other senses that you thought you needed, in the regular world. You're not able to use your eyesight. You're using your other eyes. You're using your spiritual eyes. You're using your ears. You're using other senses that are really heightened because you are in total darkness. And if you allow yourself to just be comforted by the fact that you are alone with yourself and that you have the opportunity to tap and tune into who you are, to maybe call on your ancestors or to call on your spirit guides for direction. And then we also had the opportunity to use this, I believe it was frankincense resin to put on the rocks, because at that point when each of us did that, we were supposed to set an intention. And so when the resin, which is frankincense, I believe it was frankincense because that's what it smelled like, hit the rock, it created this smoke. And so what the smoke does, it just really envelops you. And then you are kind of caught up into, I won't say like a spiritual realm, but it is what frankincense does, just like they use in Catholic Church. They used to anyway use in Catholic Church where they have that almost like lantern looking thing and they swing it back and forth. Well, that's frankincense they're releasing because it's invoking, the spirit of God in its place. And really, since God is one, I believe God is one, then you are invoking the spirit and the presence of God, and then it's connecting with that intention so that once you leave that space, that intention will be made real. you'll realize that intention. And that's really the purpose of it, to go in one person or having one idea about self, these thought processes about who you think you are, and come out tapping into yourself and knowing self by the time you leave. Now, I'm not saying it's magic and it happens overnight, but there is something that happens when, number one, you release, you connect with something that is greater than yourself, you let go, you don't push against the resistance, but you allow yourself to be part of the ceremony so that you can get what you need. And I know I got what I need. So, what I needed. So, and I don't think I mentioned that before we went into the lodge, when we first went in, the shaman shaman facilitator, she spoke to each one of us. She's a seer. And so she took the sage and she kind of went all around our heads, went around our bodies. We held out our hands and she kind of smoked and saged our hands. And she whispered things into my ear that I knew I had been dealing with, and something that I was challenged with. I'll put it like that. And when she said it, I knew that was the reason why I was supposed to be there. So that just confirmed everything. But she just whispered it in my ear. She was very gentle, very loving. And she spoke in her native tongue, but because I don't speak a lot of Spanish, she spoke in English as well, which was helpful. And then the saging is what started the process. And then once we went into the sweat lodge, then that's where the actual ceremony began. So when we got out, it was like 2 hours later, but it didn't seem like 2 hours. It seemed like maybe 30, 45 minutes. And I'm not exaggerating. Time, when you're in there, you don't have a clock. You don't know what time it is. You don't know, you can't see the sun movements or anything. So time is really irrelevant. And in the spirit world, there is no time. So it makes sense, right? So when we got out of there, it was about 2.5 hours. And because I checked my phone once I got out and the 2.5 hours had passed, I'm like, wow. So when we got out, we were met with this beautiful spread of plant-based foods, fresh foods, the freshest food that I've probably have ever had after like a cleanse or after a spa service. You want food that's going to help facilitate healing and it's going to help continue the cleansing process. You don't want to come out to like a hamburger or chicken fajitas or, or pizza or anything like that. You don't even want it. It's like, my body is so clean. I don't even want to eat. Just give me water. But of course you have to nourish yourself. So after we got out, I had some salted water. I asked for salt because I knew I needed some electrolytes. My head was a little lightheaded. And so I had water and salt. And then after that, they had a spread of fresh pineapples, fresh watermelon. She made this rose water and agave drink that was phenomenal. Some hibiscus tea. And she picks these flowers from her garden and she makes these. And her husband prepares the food because he's a chef. I think he's from Argentina. And he had these like tortillas, and then he had some like pickled carrot strips, real thin, like they were marinated. And he had some guacamole that was, you think guacamole is guacamole, but no, this guacamole was out of this world. And then he made some like a chipotle spread. It was like sweetened with agave. It was just delicious that you put on top. And then they had little snacks, popcorn and some other kind of corn snacks that they have here in Mexico. And I'm thinking, what else did they have? They had, everything was just so fresh and so cleansing. And I just wanted more of it. And of course, I just kept drinking water because we had lost. So I know I lost at least about 3 or 4 pounds in that sweat lodge. But it wasn't about weight. It was just about, that sweat is just about releasing and detoxifying. And I know, there are detox programs that I've been part of. And I actually have a detox program on my website that includes a lot of the same herbs that you take orally. But man, this detox it was on the next level, because I believe if the spirit isn't involved and you're not detoxing that part, or you're not connecting with your spirit, and you're not really going to the root or the heart or the part of yourself that is connected to the earth, if you're disconnected like from yourself, then that's like you're disconnected from the earth. And so when we sat on the floor of this like igloo structure, it represented us connecting with the earth, being seated on these mats. And the igloo structure, it's called Temazcal, is the name of the structure. It represents the womb space, or the womb of the earth. So as you crawl in, you're going back to the earth, and then you're connecting who you are, or who you think you are, with the earth. Because, we come from the earth. Your mom's womb represents the earth because she's made from the earth. When she passes on to the next realm, the remains go back to the earth. It goes back to dust, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So that womb represents the earth going in, resolving whatever you need to resolve, and then coming out and being rebirthed. And it was just a wonderful experience. I didn't mean to go on this long, but it was just a beautiful time to gather with other like-minded people who had very different experiences. For me, it was a time for releasing some things I knew that I had to say goodbye to. I knew that in this season, Mexico had been calling me here, and I had been led here. I knew I was supposed to be here. And it almost like happenstance that I met the woman and her husband who was actually hosting this event. And they only do this event once a year. It's like the start of the calendar year I'm not sure if it's for Mexico or a certain calendar or a spiritual calendar that's connected to this country or this land, but it starts, I believe, November 1st. And this is the only one they do for the year. They do other ones, but this one is significant because they only do this one once a year. And I think I happened to catch this like a week and a half ago when I met her at a market. Anyway, I just don't believe things happen, just happen by happenstance. I think there's a reason. I think many times when you're seeking to be connected with self, or you're on this spiritual journey, I believe you are guided to where you're supposed to be. And I believe wherever you go, whatever you need is going to meet you there. And that's how I feel about this sweat lodge. So I am going to sit down somewhere or lay down or take a nap. I hear I'm going to sleep really good tonight, and I believe that. So when you get home from these, you're not supposed to take a shower or a bath, because you're supposed to allow the herbs and the medicine to continue doing its work through your skin and through your pores and through your bloodstream, and continue the healing process. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to take a shower. I may just take maybe a light shower, like without soap, so I don't wipe it off my skin. But I am looking forward to this good sleep tonight. And I don't know if, a lot of people connect with this, but if you do, put a comment below or say, hey, this is interesting. I'm curious. What are your thoughts about it? It was just beautiful. It was beautiful, and I wouldn't trade anything for it. Okay, so that's it. If you like this content, consider subscribing, hit the like button, comment and share. And thank you for spending your day with me, letting me ramble about my experience. If you've had a similar experience, please share it in the comment section. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Ooh, I need to get out of these clothes.